Hi, everybody. I'm Adrienne Ronmark. I play the violin. I work in the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I've been a full-time member of the first violin section for the DSO since 2008. And as you know, each year the DSO has a wonderful community outreach that we do with our Day of Service. And this year, one of our community partners is the Oakland Avenue Urban Farm. And I'm really excited today to be talking to Jerry Hebron and to learn more about what you do at the Oakland Avenue Urban Farm. So, Jerry, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
good to see you.
sure. So again, my name is Jerry Ann Hebron. I am the Executive Director of Northern Christian Community Development Corporation, which runs the Oakland Avenue Urban Farm. The farm has been in existence for 11 years. We're located in the North End part of Detroit, which I don't know if you know this, but we're the old Motown neighborhood. So many of the artists from Motown grew up and lived in this neighborhood and started singing, started their professional careers uh, within this neighborhood. North End is very popular for arts and culture. And we are also have been very actively a part of that work in addition to the urban farming that we do, particularly trying to make fresh, local grown produce accessible to a community that doesn't have shopping options within a mile of them. So this has been all about increasing food access to this community, engaging people in this community, and we always look and talk about urban agriculture as a very active part of community development.
I had a chance to check out your website, which is really well done, by the way. And I loved looking
Thank
at the
you.
map that was like the interactive map of your property. And it seems like you have such a great mix going on. I saw a couple apple orchards on the map, a couple other growing spaces. Can you
Mhm.
tell me more about what you have on the campus? I was really curious about the Earth and Sky repose and the community art project that you have as well. What goes on at the Oakland Avenue
So the
Farm?
Earth and Sky repose that you're talking about was actually a project that was led by College for Creative Studies in 2012. And that initiative, at that time, CCS worked with 6 different communities to bring an art project to the community. And how that project uh, worked was the community would come together, determine what artists to use, then the artists would do a rendering, and the community would vote and decide on what rendering they liked, and then they would decide on where the project went, where it landed. And for us, we were selected at the farm to be the custodial of that art project. And for us, it's amazing because the only caveat, the only thing that I wanted was a functional piece of art. And so it's the columns and the bench and the pathway, but that sculpture is a 675-gallon cistern. We wanted to be able to capture rainwater that we can use to water some of our crop. We also have our community house, which is the yellow house uh, that you probably see on the map. That's the face of the organization. We have a prep kitchen in there. We make our Afro Jam in there. Our 4-H club meets there. Everything that happens at the farm, community meetings, whatever, happens out of that house. We also have 3 high tunnels that help us extend our growing season. And right now, we have been actively replanting those tunnels because we've been contracted to grow some winter greens for 5 restaurants. And so this is major for us because this is the first year that we actually try to grow for restaurants during the winter. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to be successful with that initiative. And then we have chickens, and they have their own little chicken coop. We can house 40 chickens in that coop. And there is a house adjacent to that coop that we're going to be turning into a pole barn next year. We also have a house that is, we call the Butterfly House. And there's an organization that we just went into partnership with this year called Bags to Butterfly. And so they work with returning citizens, ladies, and those ladies are taught how to make swag, handbags, many things. It's a skill that they're taught to help with their reentry process, and it's a 9-month program. So we're happy to have them on our campus this year. We have 3.5 acres dedicated to food production. And you mentioned the apples, but we also have peaches and we have pears.
Wow.
And we have strawberries. So out of all of those products, we make a value added product, which we call Afro Jam. And the most exciting project that we're looking to do next is a library. So we're almost 100% certain that we're going to get the funding to start that project after the first of the year. And that library is going to be accessible to everyone in the community, but it's also going to be an attractor for globally, because we work with architects and designers, and people will be able to come and get have workshops and learning experiences, as well as the community having access to Wi-Fi, our kids having a quiet place to study. So it's we're really excited about that project.
It seems like you're really in touch with your local community around you. I'm curious about, you talked about the needs of the community that you're in, having access to food, and being just a part of the process as well. I'm wondering, have you seen a change in the needs of the community during this COVID pandemic, and how have you shifted to, address that as an organization?
So, I mean, yeah, so we thought that we were making headways in terms of accessibility for folks in community. And then one of our partners, Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, is building the food co-op, so we're working with them to bring that to the community. So that is another resource for people to have access to quality food, working in partnership with us so that some of our food will be there, and other local growers around Detroit, Hamtramck, and Highland Park. And then COVID comes, and COVID is just like a slap in the face to everything, because for 6 months, not only did the restaurants and chefs have to stop working, but many of the local growers got shut down as well, because they had nowhere or no place to take their food. And so those outlets that people had in communities and neighborhoods stopped. And so I don't know if you have noticed that you see a lot of churches and pantries and people giving away free food. It's not uncommon to drive down any street and you see the free food sign. Well, that's because the need has tripled since COVID. We never shut down. We actually, with our partnership with restaurants and chefs, and then an organization called Hazan Detroit, which is a Jewish organization that we work very closely with, went into emergency food distribution mode. So we were rescuing food from restaurants and rescuing food from chefs that they had on hand that was able to get in to Detroit from the food suppliers. and that was being redistributed out into community. Uh, I never saw cars line up at our farm looking for free food like I did this year. Never. It was frightening, actually. In addition to the food distribution from the restaurants and the chefs, we also worked very closely with chefs to provide 50 to 75 hot meals a day. So we actually took those meals door to door for
Wow.
seniors and families that we knew where children live. And we did that sometimes twice a day, but for sure one day. And we did that 6 days a week. So what do the numbers look like? In in 10 weeks, collectively between the chefs that we work with and the restaurants and our farm in Hayes Detroit, we fed over 25,000 families.
Wow.
That is a lot of families to touch.
That's
That's a lot
amazing.
of food to distribute in just that short time. But it was not we didn't think about the virus. We only thought about the need. And I say families, but I have to also say that we were looking for the homeless people because they're on the streets.
Hmm.
They don't have access to water or any of the things that everybody were told that they needed. So we were out there with hand sanitizer, facial masks, food, toilet paper, paper towel, all the things that they also needed. So yes,
And that must take an amazing amount of staff to be able to pull off that amount of organization. And how do you even go about understanding where in the community the needs are the greatest when in any, given time someone would be able maybe to look you up or have word of mouth as they're passing, down the street when everything changes, and how do you get the word out about something like that and how do you find out where you need to go?
so, that's a good question because for us it was pretty easy because we know our families. I mean, we know our families. I did find some new families
Hmm.
that I did not know were living at the level of poverty that they were. Okay. But working with my team, and my team has not changed. The numbers have not changed. I got 4 people on my farm team. Four.
Wow.
They all live in the community. They all know families in this community. They know people in this community. We are constantly talking with people in this community. So we know where there are seniors that cannot get out of their house because they can't walk on their porches.
Sure.
We know where these people live. And by word of mouth, we have been able to connect to these families and we are still supporting these families. So every week on Friday, we receive 50 food boxes. And sometimes those food boxes also come with dairy. So we get the milk, we get the eggs, we get the cheese,
Mm-hmm.
we get the butter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as well as fruit. So we have fruit, dairy, and vegetables that we are still providing to people today, but our numbers are less. They're like 50. So it's just you have to know your community. And that's what community nonprofit work is about. You have to know who your neighbors are. It's not just we don't look at them as targets. It's not target marketing for us or anything like that. These are families, these are our neighbors, these are our
Sure.
partners.
I think there's something very connected between, the art of whether it's the art of music or the art of language or, the art of creation and the art of being in touch with the earth around you. I personally have done, I'm a novice, but I've done some gardening myself. And then this past, summer, especially having some time to be able to invest into it, I've been working out and growing some vegetables. And I think there's something that's just really fulfilling and satisfying and gratifying as a supplier when you're able to give to someone in that way. but then also to be able to connect with other people, for a basic need. It must be very gratifying work for you to do, and how wonderful that you are able to create that network within the community and fulfill the needs where they really are great, especially during this time of the pandemic. How can the larger community around you, how can they support you as an organization, during this time? Where are your needs the most? Is it volunteering? Is it donations? What are you looking for from the larger community?
The PPE that we get, so the hand sanitizers, the facial masks, the gloves, we still, like my husband and I are going to uh, do the run for paper towels, toilet paper, uh, the bleach, all of this. We stock all of this up. People know that they can come if they need it, and we're sharing. So PPE is high on our list of needs. We also are still feeding people.
Sure.
So we're stocking up on canned goods, on paper goods, toiletries. We also do the feminine products and things like that. So that, once again, I'm hoping it's not a panic like it was before, because that panic was overwhelming. But we just want to be prepared for the needs that people will have, and not have to scramble to try to meet those needs. So that's what we're getting in place right now. So of course, donations are very helpful for that, because that's helping us to to stock up.
So you're looking for volunteering as well, or is that not on your plate
Volunteering
right
would
now?
help us right now as well, because even though it's getting toward the end of our season, we still have to put, the farm to bed. We still have some planting that we're still doing and harvesting. So yes, that's always helpful.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Jerry, and we're so happy to talk to you. And we hope that your community is finding its needs met through you. It certainly seems like you are putting roots in all the right places. So thank you very much for your work.